Welcome to Romance Therapy Book Club. This is a space where romance stories meet real-life reflection. We read short romance stories, not just for entertainment, but as mirrors. Mirrors that help us explore love, attachment, healing, boundaries, and the relationship we're building with ourselves. Romance therapy isn't about finding the one. It's about understanding why we love the way we do, and learning how to love ourselves more intentionally. Whether you're partnered, single, healing, or just curious, you belong here. We read together, we reflect honestly, and we grow, one story at a time. If this resonates with you, stay a while. The conversation is just getting started.
Derwin was caught in a web he didn't know how to recover from. One he hadn't realized was being spun around him until he was already standing in the center of it. Somewhere along the way, he had absorbed the message that money equaled freedom, and freedom equaled women, access, and a fast life. He didn't question it at first. It was everywhere. Music, social media, conversations in rooms where success was measured by numbers and names. So he did what he saw was required. He changed his life and immersed himself in following what he saw in the media. He worked harder, earned more, became the high earner everyone respected. And once the money came, he went where he was told the women would be. Lounges, rooftops, exclusive spots tucked behind velvet ropes and whispered invitations. They were there. Everything the media promised was real. Beautiful women, effortless attention, conversations that began with interest and ended with expectation. Because the world was new, he fell into it hard, mistaking access for a rival. But there was one thing Derwin hadn't lost. He didn't believe in sleeping around. For the most part, that worked in his favor. He wasn't careless with himself. He didn't want moments he couldn't stand behind later. When he met women, he tried to know them, really know them, beyond the surface, beyond the smiles, beyond the questions about what he did and what he drove. He wanted to build something. What he found instead were women more curious about what he could provide than who he was becoming. Some hinted at intimacy early, assuming access was part of the unspoken agreement. Others played patient, but the questions always circled back to lifestyle, upgrades, and appearances. Derwin declined, not because he lacked desire, but because he refused to give himself to something he wasn't ready to commit to long-term. The truth was, he wasn't chasing women. He was trying to figure out his life. And the more he tried to do it in a world that rewarded performance over purpose, the more trapped he felt. Successful on the outside, uncertain on the inside, wondering when the life he was living had stopped feeling like his own. Jolene, the bartender at a spot Derwin frequented, noticed him sitting at the bar again. She walked over, wiped the counter, and glanced at his glass. "You don't even drink," she said casually. "Why are you sitting there with a $16 drink?" Derwin looked up, surprised. "How do you know I don't drink?" Jolene shrugged. "I know what everyone drinks. It's my job." He smirked. You're good. But yeah, I don't drink." She leaned in slightly and lowered her voice. "If you're trying to impress," she nodded toward a young woman across the room, laughing with her friends, "you'll need to order one of those sweet specialty drinks. Be ready to drop about 100. She loves those. You might even take her home tonight." Derwin shook his head slowly. "No, I'm good." Jolene propped her hands under her chin and studied him. "Then what are you doing here?" Derwin sighed, staring at the bar for a moment before answering. "I thought I knew. I thought if I did what the guys in the media did, I'd find someone to share life with." Jolene let out a soft laugh. "You know they're just creating content, right?" He looked away, then back at her. "You have to see what they do as entertainment," she continued, "not the guide to your life." Derwin nodded slowly. "Now I do. I just feel like I built the wrong reputation. Now I only attract women who want me to pay bills and fun trips." Jolene tilted her head. "Ah, so you didn't really like the lifestyle. You just liked what you thought it would give you." She paused. "And now that the superficial stuff showed up, you realized you wanted something real. Derwin exhaled. I never looked at it like that. I just want to get back to myself. I want to love what I do and who I'm around. Jolene reached for his glass. Well then, let's start by getting you a cherry Coke. Derwin perked up. How did you know? She raised an eyebrow. He laughed softly. That's perfect. A few minutes later, Derwin sipped his Coke and thought about the conversation. Jolene had been in serving him and everyone else in the club for years. She knew what people liked, what they pretended to like, and what they kept forcing themselves to do, even when it didn't fit who they were anymore. And for the first time in a long time, Derwin felt like someone had seen him. Not the image, not the income, not the lifestyle, but the man quietly trying to find his way back home. Over the next few weeks, Derwin fell back in line with himself. Instead of chasing the life he thought he was supposed to want, he started learning what he actually liked in the season. He ditched the clubs and found himself drawn to spaces that felt quieter, but fuller. Rooms where people talked about growth, purpose, and building something that lasted. He invested his time the same way he had invested his money, intentionally. With the resources he had, Derwin poured into self-improvement workshops focused on wealth, legacy, and long-term planning. One in particular caught his attention, a local mastermind seminar on creating financial strategies that built generational impact. It sold out quickly, limited seats, high demand. When he walked in that morning, he felt something he hadn't felt in a while. Peace. Not excitement fueled by ego, but contentment fueled by alignment. The opening speaker was powerful, grounded, and practical. By the time they broke for lunch, Derwin knew he had made the right decision. He stood in line, waiting his turn, lost in thought. When someone tapped him on the shoulder, he turned to see a young woman with warm eyes and yellow-rimmed glasses that somehow fit her perfectly. She smiled, holding out a drink. Hi, she said. My name is Lauren. I saw you standing in line and figured you might be thirsty, so I brought you a cherry Coke. Derwin blinked, then glanced around, searching for a familiar face. I'm sorry, he said with a small laugh. Thank you, but do you mind me asking where you got this? Lauren smiled wider. I was talking to a woman and her husband who owned the beverage company sponsoring the event. I mentioned cherry Coke, and she said, you should give that to the guy over there. He likes cherry Coke. She pointed at you with no explanation. Derwin laughed, this time from his chest. Well, he said, taking the drink, that's oddly perfect. Lauren tilted her head. I thought so too. I was telling her about my life, and she was so attentive. Anyways, here I am. They smiled at each other with an unspoken familiarity, like their presence said everything. They engaged in small talk, mostly about their encounter with Jolene. When the next session was called, Derwin gestured toward the room. Would you like to sit together? Lauren nodded. I'd like that. As they walked back inside, cherry Coke in hand, Derwin realized something simple and grounding. He hadn't found her by chasing an image. He hadn't met her trying to impress anyone. He had found her by finally choosing himself.
Thank you for listening and for being part of this growing community. Every story, every reflection, and every voice matters here. I'm truly glad you chose to spend this time with us. If you're interested in learning more about how you can host your own romance therapy group, please send an inquiry through www.graceguidance.com, where we produce media, events, and books, and offer services designed to support healing, inspire love, and help you live your life on purpose.